This man is Choi Ik-ho. He is the current boxing champion, but Ik-ho has just been arrested by the police for a murder. When thrown into the detention room, Ik-ho suddenly receives a mysterious earphone, but the other end of the line is not a lawyer, but the scream of Ik-ho's brother who is being tortured. Immediately after, a strange voice announces, "The game begins." Act 1 is to escape from the police station, and Ik-ho's life is the commodity that the tycoons are betting on. Every early morning before the rooster crows, Ik-ho starts his day with a marathon. After stopping to help a poor old father, Ik-ho continues walking to the riverbank just to practice hard. The gangsters in the area whisper to each other that only fools dare to mess with this man, because Ik-ho is the current heavyweight boxing champion. Whoever is foolish enough to let Ik-ho use his fists will have to prepare to go to the maxillofacial hospital. In his career, Ik-ho participated in 200 fights, which 198 were in which Ik-ho knocked out his opponent in the first round. The remaining 2 were enough to send the opponent to the maxillofacial hospital. That is why Ik-ho has become an idol of the youth. Ik-ho has thousands of passionate fans following him. However, even though he is over 30 years old, Ik-ho is still single. Every day, beside Ik-ho, there is only one relative, his brother Choi Young-ho. Young-ho is also the coach, who always fights side by side with Ik-ho. In fact, Young-ho used to be a soccer player, but because of his hot temper, he once even attacked the referee. The bitter end is that Young-ho had to give up the soccer field forever. No career, no money. Young-ho at that time was no different from a wanderer, thinking that life was deadlocked. But Young-ho realized one thing. Young-ho saw that his younger brother was a natural fighting genius. It was Young-ho who brought Ik-ho to the ring. Young-ho guided Ik-ho until now. Therefore, in every press conference, Ik-ho could not forget to proudly introduce his family, who was also his older brother. Luck seemed to be smiling on Ik-ho. On this day, the organizers officially arranged for Ik-ho the most important match of his career. This was a golden opportunity to compete for the heavyweight championship belt. This time, the opponent was considered a real mountain, an extremely violent Westerner, the one with the notorious nickname, the Crusher. However, an ironic incident happened. Right before the match, when the entire audience was waiting excitedly, the Crusher was discovered to be in a state of high on illegal drugs. He completely lost control. He screamed and smashed everything in the waiting room. Faced with this unacceptable situation, the decision was made immediately. This fighter was stripped of his right to compete. Meanwhile, in the stands, Boss Kang, a loan shark, came to Young-ho. Boss Kang threatened that if Young-ho did not want this old man to reveal his old debt, Young-ho should immediately go to an address to handle something for him. It turned out that in order for Ik-ho to have money to practice and have the opportunity to compete, Young-ho had to borrow a huge amount of money from Boss Kang. Because of that debt, Young-ho was often forced by Boss Kang to do things against his conscience. Young-ho had no choice but to lie to his wife. Young-ho told him to go to the alley to eat a bowl of porridge, but as soon as he finished speaking, Young-ho took a taxi and went straight to the location that Boss Kang had agreed upon. The next morning, when Ik-ho arrived at the gym, he was suddenly surrounded by several police officers. Before Ik-ho could understand what was happening, they took him straight to the police station. There, the director of investigation announced that a murder had occurred last night. The victim was Boss Kang, who had come to find Young-ho last night. Worse still, also found Young-ho's fingerprints at the scene. The police asked Ik-ho to obediently tell them where Young-ho was. Ik-ho could only reply that he swore he didn't know. Hearing that, the director laughed again. That attitude made Ik-ho, who was already hot-tempered, extremely angry. Ik-ho overturned the table. Ik-ho roared that he should never look down on others. As a result, the reigning champion was locked up in a detention room in front of the astonished criminals who were watching with 4 wide eyes. With nothing to do, Ik-ho had to vent his anger by doing sit-ups. Suddenly, a cellmate came over. He gave Ik-ho a box. Ik-ho curiously opened it and saw a bracelet and a pair of headphones inside. As soon as Ik-ho put on the headphones, he heard Young-ho's voice. Young-ho said that he was kidnapped by some strangers, and as soon as he finished speaking, on the other end of the line, Young-ho was beaten up. Another powerful voice rang out through the headphones. He set a condition. If Ik-ho wanted to save his brother, Ik-ho had to obey all his orders. The person behind it all was Ace. He was the boss of a sick gambling organization. The organization was operated through a real-life survival game. Ace's team specialized in fixing games. They forced famous and skilled martial artists like Ik-ho to join. Countless challenges will be set. The more Ik-ho overcomes, the closer he will get to rescuing his brother. Meanwhile, the real players, that is, the tycoons, will watch live and bet huge amounts of money. Thanks to that, Ace earns huge profits. To operate the game, Ace owns a team of top hackers. They are capable of infiltrating all security camera systems. They live stream all of Ik-ho's actions for the bettors to observe. Through the headset, Ace gives the first challenge. Iko must escape from this very police station. If he fails, Young-ho will have a finger cut off. Hearing this, Iko still doesn't understand what's going on. Iko laughs again. Iko looks straight at the security camera. Iko sarcastically asks if this is a hidden camera program. This reaction makes Ace extremely angry. Meanwhile, the police officers in the room could only look at Iko, who was muttering to himself. They thought Iko was crazy. To prove that this was not a joke, Ace growled and threatened that if Iko dared to mess around again, he would put Young-ho in real danger. With that, Ace ordered his men to beat Young-ho. Iko could hear the whole beating sound through the headphones. This harsh truth finally made Iko realize the seriousness of the situation. Iko was extremely worried. Ace announced that the game had officially begun, and Iko had to escape from the prison immediately.
지금 어디 있는 것 같아?
The performance just now not only made the entire police station freeze, but also made the rich people watching extremely excited. They immediately rushed to place bets. The amount quickly reached tens of millions of dollars. The audience was divided into two sides. One side believed that Iko would lose. The other side bet that the champion would win. Following Ace's continuous instructions through the headset, Iko understood that he had to try to get out of this building, but this boss had ordered his subordinates to create another challenge right away. Seeing that his prey was about to be caught, Ace decided to intervene to let the tycoons bet more money. Ace immediately ordered the hacker to open a side door. Ace deliberately created an escape route for Iko. The police were furious. They immediately drove after him. Iko was exhausted. Iko didn't know which way to go when suddenly a bright red sports car rushed over. A beautiful girl shouted out. She told him to get in the car. Iko was already suspicious after everything, so he immediately refused. Iko said that nothing in this world is free and he had been fooled too much today. However, at that moment, the police siren sounded right behind him. Without saying much, the girl took out a special key. She pressed the button and Iko's handcuffs automatically opened. Seeing this, Iko had no other choice but to jump into the car. It turned out that this beauty's name was Soo-kyung. She was a henchman in Ace's organization. Although she looked innocent, Soo-kyung was actually hired to be a transporter. Soo-kyung takes Iko to the next challenge location. When Iko arrived, he was still bewildered when Soo-kyung smiled and said that he would soon meet Young-ho again. Suddenly, Iko saw his face appearing on the news. It turned out that the police had issued a citywide wanted notice. The champion's prison break surprised Iko's colleagues, but the biggest shock was Young-ho's wife. She immediately appeared at the police station. She made a fuss, screaming and arguing loudly. She demanded that the police return her family's innocence. On the other side, Soo-kyung took Iko to the foot of a building. She lied that the person Iko needed to rescue was right inside. She used a VIP card and leisurely led Iko into the den. Iko did not expect that this was a trap. This place was actually a casino of a notorious gang, not a place to hold Young-ho. Through the headset, Ace continued the drama. Ace lied that Young-ho was upstairs. He urged Iko to hurry up. He threatened that if Iko was late, they would attack Young-ho. Iko was cornered and immediately took action. But when Iko was stopped by 2 guards, Iko had to take action to defeat them. And right at the moment, Iko started to cause chaos. Soo-kyung also took out her phone to call the police. She accurately reported that Iko was here. Immediately, the director summoned all forces to surround and arrest. Ace was truly cunning. Ace wanted to create many challenges. Ace turned this siege into a bloody drama to lure the tycoons to bet more money. At this time, in the casino, the gang leader was also letting his underlings take care of a customer. This person dared to use the service without paying. When he looked up at the camera screen, he saw a stranger causing chaos in his area. He immediately summoned all his juniors to deal with it. As for Ace, he wanted to wait for the police to arrive. That way, the game would be really fun. To prolong the time, Ace immediately directed Iko to a karaoke room. Then, Ace gave a strange order. If Iko wanted to meet Young-ho, he had to sing a complete song. This made Iko furious, but for the sake of his brother's life, Iko had to follow. With his disastrous singing voice, Iko started to sing solo. The gang leader saw this scene and became even more confused. He wondered if this guy was crazy or not to dare to come here and cause chaos just to scream. When Iko was excited, Ace immediately announced the start of the 3rd game. Iko had to escape from this house to win. Hearing the new mission, Iko immediately counterattacked. For Iko, this crowd was not a problem because whoever dared to get close to Iko had to pay the price. Some were hit by Iko in the vital spots. Others were quickly defeated by Iko. These people were clearly not opponents of a boxing king. In just a moment, they were lying all over the place. Even Ace, through the camera, counted nearly 20 people who had been defeated. However, this was a place where it was easy to enter, but difficult to exit. Not being able to waste a second, Iko immediately ran for his life. Iko tried to find traces of Young-ho. Iko frantically rushed through all the crossroads and alleys. Iko weaved through the crowd to escape capture. Finally, Iko reached a seemingly quiet room. Immediately, Ace's voice rang out through the headset. He sarcastically said that he had a special gift waiting for Iko. Iko was alert. Iko approached the only box on the table. Iko took a deep breath, then opened it. What was inside immediately made Iko's world collapse. It was a photo of Young-ho. Right below was a severed finger. Pain and anger rushed in. Iko could no longer control himself. Iko screamed to the limit. As the players' emotions were pushed higher, the tycoons became more excited. They bet more money. At this moment, the door to the room opened. It was the gang's boss. He led a huge group of underlings. They came to ask about Eko's health. In a fit of rage, Eko screamed. Eko asked where Young-ho was. The boss didn't understand what was going on. He just smirked and replied that he wouldn't tell him where Young-ho was. Then he immediately ordered all his underlings to deal with Eko. At this point, Eko really couldn't control himself anymore. Although he was also covered in injuries, Eko had already finished them all off. Right after Eko finished, the police arrived. Hearing the screams from above, the director immediately ordered the police to rush in. The game was so intense that the bet had now jumped to nearly $100 million. Ace had already comfortably pocketed nearly $30 million in commission. At this moment, Eko was frantically questioning the gang leader. Eko asked for Young-ho's whereabouts. Eko kicked open the door of a room. Eko found a man tied up, but it wasn't Young-ho. Eko went crazy and lifted the gang leader up. Eko yelled and asked where Young-ho was. The other guy could only scream and reply that he didn't know. Just when Eko was in despair, Ace decided to add some motivation. Ace hacked into the system and broadcast live on the TV screen the scene of Young-ho being hunted. Through the screen, Young-ho tried to speak in a weak voice. Young-ho said that he was locked in a building where there was a billboard with a picture of a girl. Ace immediately provoked him. He ordered that if Eko wanted to save his brother, he should escape from this building immediately. With no other choice, Iko had to grit his teeth and find a way out. At this moment, the director and the police also rushed to the scene. He only saw a chaotic scene. The gang's juniors were lying around screaming. He searched for a long time but could not find Iko anywhere. It turned out that Iko knew that the police had blocked all the exits below, so Iko quickly ran to the rooftop to find another chance to escape. Looking down, Iko discovered a tarp that could be used to jump down, but the distance was too high, extremely dangerous. The director seemed to be very quick-witted. He also caught wind of Iko and chased him up to the rooftop. He immediately rushed to control Iko. He asked Iko to raise his hands, otherwise he would shoot. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly handcuffed Iko to himself. Iko tried desperately to explain that he was going to save people, but he only scolded Iko for being crazy. Iko didn't know how to make the director believe him. There wasn't much time left, so Iko had to take a risk. Iko gently grabbed the gun. Iko intended to drag both of them down. Before this crazy action, the director panicked and managed to open the handcuffs. Only Iko landed alone. Iko fell straight into a trash can below, so he still kept his life. When Soo-kyung and Ace's underlings rushed over, Iko was nowhere to be seen. This time, Iko was smarter. Iko immediately took off the tracking bracelet and threw it away. This made it impossible for Ace to find Iko's exact location. The boss had no choice but to try to hack into the city's security camera system, but Iko moved so fast that Ace could hardly keep up. Meanwhile, Iko ran and hurriedly looked around. Iko tried to find a building with a billboard of a girl, just as Young-ho had said. Ironically, Soo-kyung was also driving her red car around, and then she accidentally saw Iko running uphill, panting. She immediately informed Ace of the location. Immediately after, Soo-kyung got out of the car. She quickly took a shortcut to block Iko. When Iko just ran over, she suddenly jumped out and hugged him, tried to use an electric shock device to control him, but Iko also immediately fought back fiercely. At that moment, a young boy on a bicycle passed by. He thought the couple was being intimate in the middle of the street. He immediately took out his phone to film. Seeing that it was annoying, Iko had no choice but to take action. He pushed Soo-kyung away and immediately ran away. Iko climbed straight up to the elevated highway so he could easily observe. Finally, from above, Iko also discovered the target. There was indeed a building with a billboard of a girl. Iko rushed to the place and he saw two bad guys escorting Young-ho to the car. It seemed like they were preparing to move to another location. With no time to think, Iko ran straight across the street. Iko ran regardless, even though the car almost hit him. In the end, Iko had to climb over the fence to get through, but it seemed that Iko was a bit late. The car started to roll. However, something strange happened. The car suddenly started to move backwards. At the same time, three other cars immediately appeared from behind. They surrounded Iko, deliberately hit him. The strong impact caused Iko to fly into the back of the car. Iko fainted. It turned out that this was Ace's plan. He wanted to lure Iko into a pre-arranged cage to quickly capture his prey. Ace immediately announced the fourth game to continue making money. When Iko woke up from his coma, he found himself in a giant stadium, and Soo-kyung was sitting next to him. She gave Iko a tablet so he could talk to Young-ho. Through the screen, Young-ho said that he was also locked in this place. Young-ho told Iko to come and save him. Iko looked around and realized that the stadium had millions of virtual viewers. Iko could only try to reassure Young-ho. Iko told Young-ho to rest assured Iko would come and save him. Meanwhile, outside, Ace started his next move. He had just informed the police, and at the same time, he had informed the entire gang at the casino of this exact location. He wanted everyone to rush to the stadium to create the most magnificent chase for Iko. Just a moment later, all parties were present at this place, but no one knew that it was a trap that had been set. Ace told Iko that this was the last stage for Iko to save his brother. If he passed again, they would both be set free. This time the game was extremely simple and cruel. Both Iko and Young-ho had timed bombs attached to their ankles. If within 30 minutes, the two brothers did not find and come close to each other, both bombs would explode. Immediately after that, Ace had his men activate the countdown clock. After Soo-kyung had finished bringing Iko here, she immediately tried to leave. Iko quickly tried to stop Soo-kyung. Iko asked her if she knew Young-ho's location, but at that moment, Iko saw the gang in the casino rushing in. At the same time, Ace also ordered the door behind Iko to be slammed shut. Ace completely locked Iko inside. Iko had no way out. Seeing that she was also trapped, Soo-kyung quickly asked Ace to open the door to escape, but Ace pretended not to hear. Knowing that she was also tricked, she took out a pair of steel fists. She prepared to fight with Iko. The boss of the casino gang roared. He said that they had changed to better weapons. There was no time to explain, so Iko and Soo-kyung had to join forces to fight against them. Immediately after, she intended to run away in the chaos. Iko quickly grabbed Soo-kyung. He asked one last time if she knew where Young-ho was. However, Soo-kyung still replied that she was really just a transporter. Seeing that her wound was bleeding severely, Iko had to tell her to leave quickly. Now, Iko had to run alone to find his brother. A long time in the countdown clock had passed, without him seeing Young-ho anywhere. What's more, the situation was even worse. The director also led 500 police officers. They began to chase Iko. At the same time, the casino gang had also recovered from the blow. They also began to hunt Iko. Turning left and then right, Iko was finally cornered. In front was the task force, behind was the casino gang. Ironically, as soon as they saw the police, the violent thugs immediately obediently put away their knives and stood still, thinking that there was no way out. At this moment, a group of noisy fans passed by. Seizing the golden opportunity, Echo immediately disappeared into the crowd. Echo continued running along the stadium corridor, and finally, in a hidden corner, he also discovered Young-ho being held. Recognizing his younger brother, Young-ho also knew that the opportunity had come. Young-ho immediately twisted the arm of the guarding thug to escape. From above, Echo jumped down. He tried to run closer to Young-ho, but just as the two brothers were about to touch each other, a giant iron door suddenly slammed down, separating them once again. Now Iko understood. All of this was an Ace's plan. This evil boss had no intention of letting them go. He announced through the headset he gave the bomb on both of their feet exactly 5 minutes left. He wanted to kill them both to cover up the clues. Knowing that he could hardly escape the bomb, Young-ho desperately shouted to Iko. Young-ho said that even if they both had to die, they had to drag Ace down with them. Young-ho revealed that the boss was in the most VIP room of the stadium. Hearing his brother's last words, Iko was extremely heartbroken, but Iko immediately turned his pain into action. Iko followed his brother's words. Seeing that his prey was at a dead end, Ace took the opportunity to open a new, even more perverse challenge. He did so just to increase the bet. He informed the customers that the stadium was divided into 30 stands. If anyone correctly predicted which stand the bomb on Iko's feet would explode in, that person would win 10 times the bet. This cruel bet made the rich extremely excited. They started placing bigger bets than ever before, and the total quickly jumped to nearly $1 billion. Outside, time was running out. To quickly reach Ace's location, Iko had to climb to the roof of the stadium. But Iko had just run a short distance when the casino gang leader appeared again. He stubbornly followed. He took out his knife and aggressively demanded to fight Iko to the death. However, his skills were too poor. Before he could even strike twice, he slipped and almost fell off the stage. Ironically, while Iko was racing against death, he still had to go back to worry about his enemy's life. Iko shouted that the bomb at his feet was about to explode. Iko told the casino gang leader that if he didn't want to die, he shouldn't follow him anymore. The timer counted down, and there was less than a minute left. With no other choice, Iko had to take a risk. Iko decided to take a shortcut. Iko took a run. Then Iko grabbed a giant advertising cloth. Iko used it to jump down. Iko aimed straight at Ace's VIP room. Iko used his whole body to break the glass door. As soon as Iko landed, he rushed to smash Ace's entire computer system. Immediately, the countdown timer on Iko's foot stopped. The bomb was deactivated. However, after the strong impact, Iko also fainted. The bomb did not explode as planned, causing Ace to lose a huge amount of money because he had to compensate the players. Ace was furious. He intended to deal with Iko right on the spot, but being a gambler, he did not do anything. Instead, he immediately thought of a new trick to recoup the lost money. Ace ordered his men to continue to arrest both Iko and Young-ho. However, when Ace's men had just put the unconscious Iko into the truck, the car suddenly moved. It turned out to be Soo-kyung. She turned back and decided to help Iko. Because of this intervention, they could only keep Young-ho. Soo-kyung took Iko to her house to hide, but unexpectedly, Ace knew everything. The boss called. He threatened to kill Soo-kyung's father if she dared to disobey. Driven to the brink, Soo-kyung had no other choice. She had to compromise. She asked Ace to transfer her a large sum of money. She promised to deliver Iko on time, and then she would disappear from here. To carry out the final act, Ace, despite his anger, had to grit his teeth and agree. He ordered his men to bring a large sum of money to Soo-kyung. But when Soo-kyung had just returned home with the money, she was suddenly controlled by Iko. At the climax, a man with a cane came out of the room. Iko went inside. Only then did he know the truth. That was Soo-kyung's father. He also discovered that Soo-kyung used to be a champion female boxer. It turned out that she was also a victim. She was also forced by Ace to the point of giving up her career. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ace was informing his players about an event that could not be missed. He boasted that he had successfully dragged the Crusher guy to participate in this final game. He advertised loudly that Iko and this guy were worthy opponents. He promised an earth-shattering match. Iko immediately contacted his assistant, Jae-yol, to help Iko. After recharging with 30 eggs, Iko turned to Soo-kyung and told her to take him straight to Ace. This statement shocked Soo-kyung. She realized that Iko knew everything. Even though she betrayed Iko did not make things difficult for her and protected both her and her father. After that, they set off together to the meeting point. Upon arriving, Iko immediately told Soo-kyung to go home quickly. He told her to take her father away immediately to save her life. After saying that, despite Soo-kyung's dissuasion, Iko insisted on wearing the headphones and bracelet. Iko agreed to continue playing Ace's game. Meanwhile, in another place, assistant Jae-yol also started to act. Jae-yol tried to hack into the system. He disconnected the network and disabled the camera to disrupt the game. However, Ace's hacker team was really skilled. They only needed one enter press for everything to return to normal. Iko had now entered the designated building. Ace ordered Iko to confront the Crusher fighter to rescue Young-ho, who was hanging on the roof of the building. Just as Ace said, Iko had just arrived when he was attacked from behind by the Crusher. This giant knocked Iko down. Then he threw Iko a pair of gloves. He growled and said, "Let's fight." As expected of the Crusher, he was extremely strong. His strength could break the wall. Iko understood that he could only try to find a weak point to counterattack. Meanwhile, on the other side, Soo-kyung had already taken the money and was about to leave. But when she saw her old championship bracelet, the memory of her career being ruined by Ace suddenly came back. Her conscience arose. She knew that she could not let Ace continue to ruin more people. She decided to go back to help Iko. Her first action was to call. She immediately informed both the director and the casino gang. She told the whole truth that the culprit was Ace, not Iko and Young-ho. She urged them to quickly go to the building in the city center. Immediately after, Soo-kyung went to her assistant Jae-yol. She revealed that she had a way to hack directly into the server. The assistant hurriedly followed. Because she had worked for this gang for a long time, Soo-kyung quickly discovered their signal transmitter car. Immediately, she stealthily crawled under it. Then she plugged her hard drive into the system. At the same time, inside the building, Iko and the Crusher were having a life and death battle. With his superior physique, the Crusher easily hugged Iko. He slammed Iko straight into the wall. Then, he intended to throw a finishing punch, but Iko promptly used his leg to lock his neck. However, this giant was too strong. He gathered his strength and lifted Iko up. Then he threw Iko straight to the floor. Iko gritted his teeth, tried to stand up, and continued to fight, even though he was clearly at a disadvantage. From above, Young-ho's brother, although suspended, still tried to observe. Young-ho shouted and advised Iko on how to fight, but this action made Ace angry. He ordered the rope to be released to lower Nefer Young-ho. He threatened that if Young-ho said more, he would let Young-ho fall straight into the hole. Then, Ace turned to Iko and spoke to him through the headset. Ace declared that whether they won or lost this battle, both brothers would lose their lives. This statement stunned Iko, who realized he had been tricked. Ace was a traitor. Turning anger into strength, Iko dodged the attack. Then Iko suddenly knocked down his opponent. And at this crucial moment, his assistant Jae-yol, with the help of Soo-kyung, also successfully hacked into the server. Immediately, Jae-yol broadcast the entire illegal match on every public screen in the city. Ace's hacker team tried to intervene but could not control the system. Being exposed, the players panicked. They knew that they had been exposed. They all withdrew from the game. In just a moment, Ace had no money left. Inside, Iko dodged a dangerous attack. Iko immediately counterattacked. Iko hit the Crusher guy so hard that he hit his face on the ground. Thinking he had won, Iko quickly turned around to rescue Young-ho. But the Crusher woke up again. He roared. He punched Iko until he rolled to the ground. Not stopping there, the Crusher guy gained momentum and hit Iko's face again, causing Iko roll 3 or 4 times. This guy was really strong. He attacked Iko without stopping. This whole scene was broadcast, making people extremely worried about Iko's life. At the same time, Soo-kyung was also in danger. She immediately ran into one of Ace's guards. This guy is so strong that she quickly loses the advantage. He knocked Soo-kyung down and was about to use the rope to finish her off. But at that moment, he was unexpectedly hit in the head with a stick. It turned out that it was the casino gang. They had come to help. Back in the battle, Young-ho shouted down from above. Young-ho reminded Iko that the match was being broadcast live. This reminder seemed to wake Iko up. Iko roared and counterattacked with a headbutt. Immediately after, Iko jumped up. Iko launched a thunderous attack that sent the Crusher headfirst into a nearby door. Then he collapsed. It seemed like he had won, but Ace, in a fit of anger, let go of the rope, causing Young-ho to fall straight down. Iko was horrified, thinking that his brother had lost his life. But unexpectedly, Young-ho was lucky enough to cling to the wall and was trying to climb up. At the same time, outside the casino gang had also finished off Ace's underlings. Immediately after, the police force also arrived. After rescuing his brother, brother. Eiko immediately went to find Ace to settle the score. The boss had lost everything. In his madness, he also wanted to kill Eiko himself to vent his anger. He thought he was a gentleman. Unexpectedly, this guy pulled out a knife and suddenly jumped down to attack. Ace relied on his weapon and knew that Eiko was too tired after the battle. He assaulted Eiko while shouting that his biggest mistake was choosing Eiko as the main character. But Eiko, despite being injured, still tried. To respond, Eiko sarcastically said that Ace lost because he was too stupid. Angered, Ace was furious and intended to finish Eiko off. But at that moment, Sookyung appeared. She landed a punch on Ace's face to give Eiko a chance. Immediately, Eiko jumped up. Eiko decided to end everything. Eiko hugged Ace and jumped straight down from a height of 30 meters. Luckily, Eiko took the initiative to lie on top. Eiko used Ace's body as a cushion so he wasn't injured. As soon as he landed, Sookyung rushed over. She hugged Eiko. Finally, everything was really over. All the bad guys, including Ace, were sent to prison. As for the casino gang, after their eyes were opened, they declared that from now on, they would worship Eiko as their idol. Young-ho was also safe, and his wife also rushed to reunite. The movie ended with a clear message. Those bastards who disregard other people's lives for money will eventually have to receive a bitter end, because the law of karma will not spare anyone. And Eiko, after going through many storms, finally found his lover.